Two souls colliding. We shared the pieces of ourselves. It's perfect timing now. We fueled the flames, but we're still learning to trust, learning to trust. It's never enough, never enough.
Welcome back to the channel, guys. So in this video I'm going to be using these patterns that we drafted in my last video to cut on my actual fabric. So I have my fabric folded into two like this, and then I place the front pattern on the folded end of my fabric. Ensure that you place your front pattern on this folded end like this, so that you don't have to start joining the middle of your front piece. And after that, I went ahead to use these patterns to cut out on my actual fabric. And as you can see, I ensured that I left about ½ an inch stitching allowance all the way around my patterns. Can you see? I have about ½ an inch stitching allowance all the way around both the front and the back pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and use these patterns now to cut out on my lining, and I'll also iron my estay to all the pieces. So guys, as you can see, I've ironed my estay to both the front and the back pieces as well as the lining pieces. So this is what I have. So now the next thing I want to do is to determine the boning lines. That's where we're going to be placing the boning casings. Now for this end here, I'm just going to measure what I have here and divide it into 2 equal halves to get the middle of the top. So I'll make a point here, and I'll come to this top as well. I'll come to the top as well and divide what I have here into 2 equal halves so that I get the middle of this top. So now I will go ahead and join these 2 points to give me a line, just like you see that I have here. So this is the middle of our top. We're going to have a boning casing here. Now from this point, I just went ahead to measure equal lines on both sides of from the middle. Now you can decide to have them slanted. You see I have one slanted and I have the other one straight. Okay, go ahead and do the same thing. And as you can see, I'm placing my bias on all the lines, making sure that they follow the way the line is going. Some are straight and some are slanted, and afterwards I went ahead to stitch them on both sides. So this is what I had after I was done stitching them down, and you can see how it looks at the back. Okay, go ahead and do the same thing. Now for the back pieces, I went ahead to just place one boning case on the back, leaving about 2½ inch from the middle. I placed the boning case on the both back pieces. So go ahead and do the same thing. So guys, coming to the core pieces, these are the 2 core pieces. Okay, we are going to remove the patterns. We don't need them for now, and I'll be removing the lining pieces as well because we're going to be working on the actual fabric. Make sure that they are in the direction that they're supposed to go, and then pick one from both sides. So these other 2 will be for the other cup. Okay, so these first 2 like this, I'm just going to go ahead and pin them all the way around on this side here. Just go ahead and do it the same way I'm doing it like this. Once you're done pinning it down, just go ahead and stitch down on this side, and I'll go ahead and do the same thing for the lining pieces as well. So guys, this is what your cup is going to look like by the time you're done stitching it down. And you can see that I've gone to make notches all the way around the stitched part of the cup. So now I'll place it on my tailor's ham, and I'm going to go ahead and open my seams and iron them out. So guys, this is what I had after I was done ironing my seams open, both for the actual fabric and for the lining pieces. For this particular tutorial, we're going to be making use of a ready-made cup. So if you place your cup inside your fabric like this, and you notice that the cup is too wide, just like I have here, it's like ½ an inch wider than my actual fabric, you're just going to fold your cup into 2 like this, and you're just going to make a tiny dart here, just a tiny dart from here to somewhere in the middle. This doesn't happen all the time. The cup is not always bigger, but just in case it happens, go ahead and make a dart. I'll go ahead and do that and show you guys what it looks like. But right now, I'm trying to create the lines that I'm going to stitch my bias on my actual cup. So from the top of my cup, I'm coming down by 2½ inches. I came down by 2½ inches on this side. I'm going to come down by 2½ inches as well in the middle, and also I'll come down by 2½ inch on the other side and just connect it to give me a straight line. So guys, once you've marked the line across, this line here where we joined the 2 pieces together, the cups together earlier, is going to be the one going towards the end. So just follow that joining line. So you can see I'm just placing my bias on that joining line like this, and I'm just pinning it down, and I'm going to cut off the excess. Just join it until, just place it until it gets to where you have the white line coming across. Okay, now I'll place the other one on the white line. I don't know if you guys actually understand what I'm trying to do. It's actually very simple. I'm just trying to place my bias just like it is on this fabric, on this top that we're actually trying to recreate. So I'm just placing my bias on the white line that I came down by. That's that 2 inches line I got, and this is what the cup is going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for the other cup as well. And once I'm through with that, the next thing I want to do is head over to the sewing machine and stitch them on both sides. But I was advised that you stitch the one coming from the under first before placing this one on top and stitching it down. So guys, after stitching it down, this is what it looked like, and I went ahead to iron it out. So I'm just arranging them in the direction they're supposed to be. So always ensure that the shorter parts are going towards the center. Okay, so once you've done that, what I want you to do now is I'm bringing the actual body part of the top here, and I'm just going to pin the cup around the space that we have for the cup to sit. So just go ahead and do it the same way I'm doing right now. So guys, after I was done pinning it all the way around, this is what it looks like. So I noticed that there was this part here that was a little bit longer than the other part of the fabric. This is fine, it's nothing to worry about. You might not even have this issue. I went ahead to check everything and I noticed that everything is just perfectly where they're supposed to be. So that excess I had at the top is just probably because of the allowance that I gave it being too much. So I went ahead to stitch these cups down, as you can see, and right now I'm just making notches around the both parts of the cups, and I'll go ahead and iron it out before we place our cup. So guys, now it's time to place the cups, and you can see that I've already made the darts I told you guys I was going to make on the cups to make it smaller. So I'm placing it inside the space I have for the cup here, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it inside it, and make sure you are arranging it properly. So I've done it for this side, and if you turn it over to the other side, you can see how it looks. So you need to check it on the other side to be sure that it's staying perfectly before you go ahead and use your hemming gum. So what I'm using now is called hemming gum. I'm just going to be cutting from it. I'm placing in between my cup and my actual fabric, just like you see me doing like this. So you can actually remove your pins a little bit. So I removed a pin from one side so that it will be easy for me to actually place this on the inside of my cup. So go ahead and do the same thing I'm doing right now, and once you're done placing it on the inside, you can go ahead and put back your pin. So I'm going to replace the pin I had here. So I'll go ahead and place this cup on my tailor's ham. So this is what I have here. I'll go ahead and place it on it like this. Make sure you're using a steam iron, or you can go ahead and spray water just like I just did, and then iron it out properly. So once you're done ironing it out, you will notice that there's definitely a difference between the two cups. And again, you will notice that this now has gone to the actual fabric. So I went ahead to do it for the both parts. So this is what I have. Now I'm just going to cut away this excess that I have at this top, because it was a mistake that happened from the allowance I gave my cups. So as you can see, I'm just going ahead to just mark my nice curve here. So if you have anything looking like this, just go ahead and cut it off. It's nothing serious. All you just have to do is to just mark your nice curve. Make sure that your curve is at least symmetrical on both sides. Let it look the same on both sides. Then you just cut away the excess. If your cups came out perfectly and they did not have any excesses at the top, you don't need to actually go through with this process. So after I was done cutting it out, you can see the nice shape that it has now. So now it's time to join the back pieces with the front. So I'm just placing the two back pieces on the front piece, placing them right side facing each other, as you can see, and I'm just going ahead to pin it down. So I'll go over to the sewing machine. I'll make stitches here using the allowance that I gave. So guys, this is what it looks like after I was done stitching it down. And I also went ahead to cut off the excess allowances on the inside just so it's not bulky. So at this end here, after I was done stitching it down, I noticed that the front was now looking as if it's longer than the back on the sides. So it's very simple. I just went ahead to trim it to be exactly the same thing on the sides. So I have my lining pieces here. I went ahead to stitch down the lining pieces just exactly the same way I have done on the actual fabric, and you can see what I have here. So as you can see, I've pinned the both pieces together, and first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is to stitch at this top area here all the way around. So after I was done making that stitch, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to go ahead and use my scissors to just make notches all the way around. Just do it all the way to the end of the top part of this blouse that we're making like this. So once you're done making the notches, just push the stitches towards the lining and go ahead and make a top stitch. So guys, after making the top stitch, this is what it looks like. Okay, so now this is actually supposed to help it so that the lining is not showing in front. But another thing that you can use to actually help it very properly, to just secure it and make sure that the lining doesn't come in front, is to iron it out. And another method I've learned recently is ironing with placing hemi gum on the end. So you just cut hemi gum and place on this end, and you just go ahead and iron it in place. You notice that the lining will not even have any reason of showing in front. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys how to go about it. So I'll just place my hemi gum on the inside like this, push the lining down, and go ahead and iron it out. So go ahead and do the same thing, and you will notice that your lining will not push up. So this is what I have after I was done ironing it out like that. Now it's time to pass my boning through the casing, and I'm just using my bone to measure on the actual fabric the place I'm supposed to place it in, but I make sure it's about 1 inch shorter than the space that I am supposed to be passing it through. So once I have gotten the length I need, I'm just going to pass it through the casing that we have gotten. You can see that this one was proving a little bit stubborn because it seems this particular bias was just very tight for the boning I was working with. But I managed to push it in, and I went ahead to also place bonings on all the other black lines that I had. So guys, after I was done passing the boning through all the casings, this is what it looks like, and you can see it's actually bent right now. So it's totally okay if you pass your boning through the casing and it's not looking straight. This is how mine is looking bent. It's not settled yet, so I'm going to go ahead and iron it out properly to make all the boning lines straight. So guys, I've ironed out the boning lines, and you can see how it's now standing straight. Can you see? They are now standing straight. So now we want to go ahead and stitch the ends of this blouse. So now you're going to flip it over to the wrong side like this. It's not going to be the easiest thing you do, trust me. So just flip it over like this, and as you can see, I'm just going to pin all the way around. Look at what I'm doing, and do the same thing on your own fabric. Pin it all the way around the end. So now go ahead and stitch this area down here with about 1/2 inch all the way around. And after I was done stitching it down, this is what I have. So I'm just going to make notches around again. I always do that, so go ahead and make notches around, and then we're going to turn this over to the right side. So turning this over to the right side is quite tricky because you have bonings on the inside, so it's going to be a little bit hard to do, but just take your time and do it. Once you're done, you see how nicely it comes out. So I'll head over to iron this out properly, and I would be right back. So after ironing it out, the last thing I want to do is to fold this end here. So I'm just going to fold it in with about 1/2 inch here. I'll fold it in like this, both the lining and the actual fabric, and I'll head over and iron it properly in place. I'll do it all the way around it, around this space here. This is for my loops for the back lacing. So guys, ironing this place out makes it easier to work with. So as you can see, I've ironed it in on both sides. So this is what I have here. I've also gone ahead to fold in some parts of my fabric to use for the loops for the back of the top. So for the length of my loops, I'm going ahead to cut it out with 2 inches. So I'm going to be cutting about 20 pieces. Now it depends on how many loops you want to have at the back. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut out as many as I can. So now I'm going to mark the space that I want my loops to be. So there's going to be one at this top here. So from this top, I'm coming down by 1 inch. And then from this 1 inch, I'll come down by 1 inch again. So I'm just going to continue like this, 1 inch difference until I get to the end. So now I'm going to take my loop and fold it like this. Now there are different ways you can actually fold your loops, but I just want to fold it directly like this, facing each other like this. And then I'll place the first one at this top here in the middle of the lining and the actual fabric, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin it down. This is not the easiest part to pin actually because of the numerous stitches that we have done here. You can see me struggling to pin this down, but just be patient with it. You can use your table as a support. So now I'll place the other one on the other line I have here, and I'm going to pin it down, and I'll continue with this until I get to the end where the lines ended. And once I'm through with that, I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and make a top stitch very close to the loops. So guys, this is what it looks like after I was done stitching it down for the both parts. I've done it for the both sides. And another thing I went ahead to do is that I decided to make double stitches. So I made one very close to the loops, and then I made another one about 1/4 of an inch away. This is just to secure the loops very tightly, so that by the time you are pulling on your rope at the back when you're trying to make this corset tighter, it will not pull off. So I've also gone ahead to just fold my bias to give me my rope for the back. I just folded a bias strip into 2. It's very simple. This is a bias strip, just fold it into 2 like this and stitch it down. So this was how I got this. So this is going to be the loop for the back. So now for the sleeves, this totally depends on how big and how long you want your sleeve to be. So I'm just going to take the measurements I have here just in case you want yours to look exactly like mine. So this length here, I have 11 inches. I'm going to be folding it up at both ends. And for this other longer side, this is going to be the part that will give us the ruffle and the fullness of our sleeve. I have about 44 inches. So 44 inches on the longer part and then 11 inches on the shorter part. Okay, that's what I have here for the sleeve. So now what I want to go ahead and do is to make a stitch here that is enough for my elastic to pass through this part. I'll do the same thing for this other side as well. I'll do the same thing for the 2 sleeves, and afterwards I'll go ahead and pass my elastic through both sides. So I cut my elastic out with about 9 inches. So I used 9 inches to cut on my elastic and pass it through the top of both ends. And after I was done, I just joined it together, and that was what gave me this. I would have loved to share that part of the tutorial with you guys, but this video is so long already. I just had to cut it out. I might just share it in another video entirely. Okay, so now I'm going to pick the part where I joined the sleeve, and I'll be picking the joining on the side of the top together where the both of them were joined. I'm just going to put them right sides facing each other, and I will pin it down here. So I'll go ahead and stitch it down here just to join it with the blouse. I will do the same thing for the other side. So the joining we have on the side of our top here, I would be placing it together right sides facing each other with the joining we have on the sleeve, and I'll pin it down and then head over and just stitch it down there as well. And this is honestly going to be it for this tutorial. And lastly, I will just use my rope to just lace the back here, and that's basically all for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching.